Well, good evening, folks. It's the real Captain Kirk here. It's the 22nd of October, 2022. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here this evening. Again, fall foliage here in Eastern PA is absolutely spectacular in some areas. Again, we'll talk about that and show some more pictures here and video toward the end of what we experienced here this past weekend. First thing we thought we'd talk about here is the Polar Vortex. One thing we don't want to watch here is just how strong or weak this will be this year. Last year was pretty epically strong for much of the winter, especially early on. Right now, it's looking kind of a little bit symmetrical here and then getting weaker toward the end of this 14-day period as we get into early November. A weaker polar vortex just allows more cold weather to move about north and south into the U.S. or Europe or Asia. So again, if it's very strong, it tends to keep that cold weather bottled up at the North Pole. So looks like it gets a little erratic here toward the maybe the second week of November. So we'll see if we can get some colder weather back here in the east after about a month of cold weather. We look at last week's summary here now, week ending 22 October here tonight. Big map here is trends versus last year. Obviously, we had the deep south freezes. We had near record early frost and freezes all the way toward the Gulf Coast into Mississippi, Alabama, and so very, very cold in the eastern two-thirds of the country here. U.S. overall was about 3.6 degrees colder than last year. Coldest in 4 years, 11th coldest in 37 years. But that's only because the west is still trending very, very warm, about to change. Canada also number one warmest in 37 years. Europe number one warmest in 37 years. So very hot across Europe. Maps inset left there are the temperature trends and precip trends versus average. We'll look real quick here at 6-day snowfall. Tis the season here. You can see the sign of the big pattern shift with the cold shifting west and the warm shifting east. So here's Sunday. We've got snow in the Rocky Mountains, northern Rocky Mountains. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So again, this weekend getting some snowpack in the highest elevations here. Not a lot of snow. Again, it's up a little bit from last year, but still way below average, about 69% below average nationally. But at least some snow in the higher elevation of the west. If we look at this week here, the last week of October here, again, that mountains of the west will be getting white on the top here with some snow. But U.S. overall here trending about a 0.4 warmer than last year with the bigger warm up in the east and the cooler trends in the west. But warmest in 6 years, 8th warmest in 37 years, so above average with the warmer weather. We'll take it. We've had a month, 4 straight weeks of below average temperatures in the Northeast, and finally a warmer than normal week. I haven't had that, again, for over a month. Rainfall about 75% drier than last year, driest in 8 years, 11th driest in 37 years, so below average precip. Bigger storm system, be clash between these two air masses of cold and warm. Can hopefully get all that rain there in Oklahoma and Arkansas, again, in parts of Kansas, again, desperately needed in parts of the drought-stricken areas of the Central U.S. here again, so we'll see if that can happen here with the clash of the air masses. If we look at the next week, hard to believe we're getting into early November. It's kind of scary how fast the season's moving along here, but about 3.6 degrees warmer than last year, 9th warmest in 37 years, so above average national temperatures. Start to see that really warm weather in the Central U.S. going away, again, as that cooler trends in the west begins to spill into the Central U.S. again. So a transient pattern here for sure, again, and probably in the second week of November, we'll be looking at cooler trends back in the east. So again, kind of a progressive west to east pattern. And again, we'll see if that polar vortex weak by about that second week in November, which could bring some colder weather again back into the Great Lakes Northeast. Rainfall, again, almost non-existent here. Again, probably overdone as usual, but 48% drier than last year, driest in 13 years, 4th driest in 37 years. So the typical La Nina cold PDO cycle and the warm AMO cycle, the blob up there in Alaska, Gulf of Alaska, keeping us in this drought cycle, which will probably end here as we go into 2023 and 2024 for sure. Aggregating these trends here for, again, the 2 weeks overall again. So warmer trends east, haven't said that in a while, and colder trends west in Alaska. They've also been warm, but now very cold. So that'll, at least for the next week or two for them, and then the pattern's probably going to retrograde back to the east here. Europe, very hot. Look at the, way above average temperatures across Europe. And Australia continuing their cold trends. We'll end here with some of the sights and sounds of Northeast PAA. If you recognize this waterfall, it's called the Niagara of Pennsylvania. It's a Bushkill Falls. So again, we'll end with that, folks, and hope you have a great week.